Watch this. Your opponent's backspin is actually free energy. One wrist adjustment turns their defense into your most devastating attack. Hi everyone, I'm Xiao Han, and today we're tackling one of the most common decision points in table tennis. When your opponent pushes or chops the ball back to you, should you hit a power loop or a spin loop? Here's a scenario. I serve with sidespin backspin. My opponent pushes it back, watch, and now I have to decide. Most players get this wrong. They rush forward when they should be reading the incoming ball first. Watch my racket angle as the ball comes back. Notice how much rotation is still on it. That's the key detail you need to read before choosing your response. Let me show you why. The answer is, you should play a spin loop. Why? Because I served with sidespin backspin, a long one, and that carries much more rotation than a short serve. When my opponent simply pushes it back flat, all that spin comes right back to me. A spin loop needs two conditions. The incoming ball is either heavy, meaning lots of spin, or it's coming at you with pace. If either condition is met, you can spin loop. The second principle is timing. A spin loop should almost always be taken at the falling phase of the bounce. Watch I contact the ball here at the top, then here as it drops. The second one carries far more spin. That combined force is the whole secret. Think about it, the ball is falling downward. If I swing forward into it, our paths cross, that's not combining force, that's opposing it. But if the ball drops down and I swing upward to meet it, now we're working together. That's true combined force. So the best moment for a spin loop, if you don't want the arc to fly too high, is to watch for the peak of the bounce. And the instant the ball begins to fall, that's when you start your swing. Watch the rhythm here. See the ball reach its highest point, and right as it starts to drop, my racket begins moving upward. That timing is everything. Let me show it again. Watch the ball bounce higher so you can see the rhythm clearly. I'll have the ball bounce higher so you can see it more clearly. Right there, that falling moment is the ideal window for the spin loop. Now, what does the top of the bounce feel like? Watch this contact, that's the high point. That's actually the ideal spot for a power loop, not a spin loop. Here's the important part. The backswing preparation for both shots is exactly the same. Whether you're going to spin loop or power loop, your setup, getting into position, completing your backswing happens at the same time during the early phase. They keep their eyes facing forward and try to contact the ball out to the side of their body. How can you find the right contact point that way? You simply can't. You must rotate your body so you're facing the ball. Fix your gaze on where the ball is bouncing on your side of the table. Then watch it rise to its peak and begin to fall, peak, fall, peak, fall. And only then do you start your forward swing. That's how you lock into the spin loop rhythm. Now, the second key concept we talked about is combined force. The ball is traveling downward, so you need to think of it like intercepting, coming from below to meet it on the way up. No matter what it takes, Even if your body doesn't get low, your racket hand absolutely must be below the ball to combine that force. You need to be lower than the ball by at least one racket head's distance. If the ball is here, your hand needs to be down here. If the contact point is higher, your hand still starts well below it. Why? Because you need a runway to accelerate upward. I see two common mistakes. First, players simply can't get low enough, their racket stays level, and they swing straight through. Second, they do get low, but they lift the racket too early, right at the peak of the bounce, and then swing forward. In that case, you can't combine forces properly. And if that's what's happening, you might as well just hit a power loop at the top of the bounce and use raw speed to overpower the spin. That's actually more stable than swinging forward into a dropping ball without proper force combination. Those two forces are working against each other. They never come together. And that's the main reason so many spin loops dump into the net. Now, let me show you the key to generating real spin. Most players try to brush the ball like this, rubbing straight up the back. But watch my hand. I come from underneath with a scooping, hooking motion and brush upward from below. The first way, scooping from below, absolutely produces more spin. This is why every professional coach tells you to drop your center of gravity and get your hand low. When the ball is falling and you contact it down here, below table height, the spin you generate is completely different from contacting the ball up at table level. Because down here, the spin you produce is at its strongest. You're riding the combined forces. If you wait for the ball to reach its peak and then try to add spin after contact, that rotation comes purely from your own effort. That self-generated spin will never match what you get by borrowing the ball's downward energy. So lower your contact point. That is a critical key to the spin loop. Watch what happens when the racket face doesn't rotate. I swing from here to here, same path, but the ball just gets hit flat. It's pure impact, barely any spin. To really make the ball spin, I need to do this. Same swing path from here to here, but instead of the forearm doing all the work, my fingers drive the racket face so it turns through the contact. Now the ball has real friction on it.